Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 6 matchup between the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners, your two top teams in the Big 12. As we look forward to Week 6, Texas is a team that you could consider to be the best team in the country right now, the way this team has played so far this season. Of course, beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa in Week 2, which was a massive win. That really was what launched this team into the top 5, and of course just beat Kansas at home 40-14, which Kansas is a talented team, and Texas made it look easy there last week. So Texas, the clear favorite in the Big 12 right now, but Oklahoma is not far behind. This team is definitely overshadowed right now, but this is a very talented team as well. Ranked number 12 in the country. This team has been dominant so far this season, but they have yet to get that signature win, and this is the big chance for it coming up here in Week 6. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Oklahoma beat Iowa State last week 50-20. Dominant win for the Sooners. This team has been dominant so far this season, even though they really haven't played a big standout team yet. This is definitely the biggest test that the Sooners have faced to date. And I mean, you consider Texas has taken all the attention of the Big 12 so far, and really from the start. I mean, they beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa in Week 2, so rightfully so. But for the Sooners, guarantee you that some of the motivation of this team is considering how overshadowed they are by Texas so far this season. But the Longhorns, though, I mean, there's no hiding it. This team has been incredible so far. Beat Kansas last week 40-14. Obviously, they beat Baylor on the road 38-6. Turns out Baylor came back and had a nice win over UCF this past week. So I know Baylor's not a very good football team, but still impressive what they did there. And obviously, you can't forget about the dominant win over Alabama on the road 34-24. Beat Bama by 10 points in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that is something that does not happen often. Games be on Saturday, October 7th in Dallas. Obviously, a neutral location for this game, as it always is, the Red River rivalry. And your kickoff is 11 a.m. Central. Spread's going with Texas by 5, and that's your opening spreads. That could change over the course of the week, but as of right now, the Longhorns are favored. Over-unders 59. FPI is going with OU here at 54%. So this is one of the rare times where the FPI and the spread disagree with each other. But your series history, Texas leads at 63-50. We have seen Oklahoma win 7 out of the last 10 and then 4 of the last 5. But you got to consider last season. I'm sure all fans of this matchup remember that one. Texas won it 49-0 last season. Complete domination last season by Texas. But otherwise, Oklahoma's been generally successful in the last 10 matchups. Obviously, they've also been pretty dominant in this series. You consider the past 5 matchups or so. Your stat comparison: Oklahoma's second in points per game this season, 4th in points allowed. They are 8th in pass yards a game, 56th in rush yards a game. So, I mean, you look all around for OU. This is a really solid, well-rounded football team. But the rushing game, you could say, is the main weakness, even though it's really not too bad. I mean, you got Marcus Major, who's had a decent start to the season, nothing too incredible statistically, but Dylan Gabriel, he is definitely a guy that is a bit underrated. He hasn't been talked about enough. He's been incredible so far, 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns over 2 picks. He is very much improved, and it's really impressive to see what this team has done in a matter of a year. And obviously, this is the first time where we really get to see the Sooners take on a really good football team, so we're going to learn a lot this week as well. But so far, it's been really impressive seeing the turnaround that OU has had. But for Texas, 19th in points per game, 8th in points allowed, 25th in pass yards a game, 23rd in rush yards, and for yards allowed, they're 30th pass defense and 17th rush defense. So overall, Oklahoma is statistically a bit higher, but you also got to consider Texas has played a much more difficult schedule so far, and they've overall done really well. I mean, that's why this team is ranked 3rd in the country, is because of how successful they've been in those big matchups. Which, speaking of which, for OU, beat Iowa State 50-20, beat Cincinnati on the road 20-6. Obviously, dominant win over Tulsa 66-17. So multiple times this season, this team has put up 50 or more. They put up 73 in Week 1. I mean, what a way for this team to enter the season. I know Arkansas State is a poor football team, but still beat them 73-0 in Week 1, by the way. That's something you typically don't see in Week 1 that early in the season. But for Texas on the other side, beat Kansas 40-14. That win should not be underestimated. I mean, Kansas is a good football team. They obviously dealing with a few injuries, but still Kansas is talented team in the Big 12 this season. They were 4-0 heading into that matchup, ranked for a reason, and Texas made it look easy. And obviously the win over Baylor, 38-6, beat Wyoming, who's halfway decent this season, 31-10, beat Alabama, 34-24. So list goes on. This is, I mean, you look at all the teams around the country, Michigan, Georgia, Texas, even Washington, Oregon, USC, whoever. Texas has the strongest resume of anyone in the country right now. And honestly, it's not too close right now. I think Texas, you've got a strong argument if you were to say that they should be the #1 team in the country, especially after last week. I mean, personally, I've got them at #2 this week, just behind Michigan. I did drop Georgia down to #3 this week just because they haven't been terribly impressive in my mind, as dominant as they have been in the past couple of years. Michigan has been more impressive and more dominant, and Texas, obviously, it was almost a tie for Texas and Michigan at the top. You could really, once again, make an argument for the Longhorns to be #1. But if they beat Oklahoma here, I will say this in this matchup. If Texas beats Oklahoma in this matchup, they should absolutely be ranked #1. It honestly should not be much of an argument at that point. Texas has proven it at that point. But for Oklahoma, the Sooners are back. They're a contender once again. I think for Oklahoma, I mean, I think the spotlight is mostly on Texas right now. The Longhorns definitely have more pressure in this matchup, I think, which can definitely go against Texas. But for Oklahoma, that's a huge opportunity. This team is right on the outside of your top 10, your main college football playoff contenders. I've said it a few times as well. I mean, this is as deep of a season as we have had in a long time. There are 10 to 12 teams in the country that I think are capable of winning a national championship this season. It's usually not that case. I mean, you usually got 2 teams at the top, maybe a single team at the top. It's been Georgia past couple of years, maybe Georgia and Michigan last year. But this season, it's really up for grabs for anybody. Oklahoma's definitely in that picture. Texas obviously already is. So for OU, I mean, this is a well-balanced team as well. Both teams are very balanced. And a win here is huge for the Sooners to get themselves a statement win and put themselves into college football playoff contention. But for Texas, it's a well-balanced, deep, and talented roster. You consider Quinn Ewers. He's been incredible so far this season. 1,400 yards of passing, 10 touchdowns over a pick. And it's not just him. This is a very talented offense. And I mean, this is the best Texas team we've seen in quite a while. I would say since 2009. I mean, and it's statistically, this is the highest this team has been since that year where they went to the national championship and obviously lost Alabama. But Texas, really impressive team so far this season. The Big 12 is wide open. This is also the matchup between your 2 future SEC teams as well. So obviously, both teams leaving the Big 12 after this season. This is the last Red River rivalry in the Big 12 as well. But definitely a huge matchup, your biggest one of week 6. And with that, let's get to the prediction here for OU and Texas coming up here in week 6. And this one, it's so tough. You really could go back and forth on this one, but in the end, I'm going Oklahoma to pull off the upset. 38-35 is my predicted final score. I think Texas is more than capable. I've praised them a lot in this video. I think they're a really good football team. They've been very impressive so far this season. But something about OU, the way this team has played so far this season, I mean, they are improved off the last year. This is not the same football team that we saw last season when OU was just a mediocre Big 12 football team. They have very much improved. They're well coached, and I think that this is their chance to really make a statement. Texas has done it multiple times so far this season. Oklahoma has been waiting for this opportunity here in week 6, and I think the Sooners take advantage of it, and they get an incredible win in a close matchup. Might be one of the best games of the season. I'm going to say 55% towards the Sooners. Over-under is 59. I'm taking the over and OU to cover the spread in the end. But if this game tells you anything, and if Oklahoma does win this matchup, I expect them to, this really, I mean, this doesn't take Texas out of contention quite yet. This just solidifies your top 2 teams in the Big 12 by far with Oklahoma and Texas. It really brings both teams into contention with each other, as Texas has already proven that they can be a really good football team this season, especially if it's close. I mean, both teams are definitely in contention if it goes this way. But massive matchup. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on OU Texas, and I appreciate you guys all watching. As always, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.